All right, good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for attending today's Quick Bite webinar. This webinar is going to be taking a look at the new features inside Dynamics GP 18.7 that just got released beginning of this month, October 2024. My name is Adam Martin. I am the Microsoft ERP Practice Manager here at Innovative Cloud Solutions. I've been a consultant here for over 10 years now. Primarily focus in Business Central and Acumatica, but also still look at Dynamics GP as well and consult and support that. Um, just to kind of go over a couple things to start. One of the things that's been recently announced is a couple of dates that are important to be aware of. Terry Healy at Microsoft sent this out in an email. You would also see this on Microsoft's website, but just want to clear up any questions on GP end of life in the timeline. So Dynamics GP has been put on the website that September 30th, 2029, that we're going to have the end of product enhancements, regulatory tax updates, service packs, and technical support. And then on April 30th, 2031, would be the end of security updates with Dynamics GP. So really, we're looking at 5 years that we're still going to receive product enhancements, meaning that each year, this October release, like we're going to look at today, we're going to see features and product enhancements, voted on features by users, still included within the product, but knowing that September 30th, 2029 is going to be the end of that. And then between 2029 and 2031, if there's any sort of security updates that need to happen to continue to make GP run, that will be the ending of that on April 30th, 2031. A couple other dates that you might see floating out there, and that's April 2025 and April 2026, that there's some mention of no new customers for GP perpetual and subscription licenses. Now, these two dates, April 2025 and April 2026, those are irrelevant for customers that are current and paying their GP enhancement. So if you are not current, though, Microsoft would consider you a new or a lapsed customer. And so you might need to consider those two dates, April 2025 and 26. So please talk to us if that's your situation. But to recap, if you are current in paying your enhancements, new user licenses will be available to you now and into the future without any issues. I also want to make you assured that there will be continued updates for GP, like I said, through the life cycle, and that includes service packs, tax, and year-end updates, along with these functional enhancements for our customers. Also, too, ICS as a company, we're committed to supporting our customers right now and in the future. We have a strong team of GP consultants and GP support technicians that will continue to provide value and support for your business. And we're ready to have conversations with you, whether that's enhancing your current business processes while you're on GP. And there really is no better time than now to even to think about transitioning to a different ERP than taking a look at your business processes now while you're on GP. No better time. Or if you're interested in transitioning to one of our other cloud solutions, we're here to help you navigate that and would love to begin those conversations with you. Here's the timeline that you'd see on the Microsoft website, just pointing that out, just so there's no confusion, but that's the 2029 and 2031 dates that are mentioned on the website. And this is what the calendar looks like. And again, modern life cycle is GP, what it's on now. So that means we're getting that yearly product enhancements, usually around the October timeframe. Okay, so our solutions, right? So ICS, we've been around a long time and supported, and we're founded on Dynamics GP. We'll continue to support that as well. Like I said, we're here to support you now and in the future. So if Microsoft Dynamics Business Central is a solution that you would potentially look at as a cloud solution, that's kind of Microsoft's path for the GP customer. would be looking at Dynamics Business Central. Or another cloud solution that we have as an alternative path is Acumatica. So we're really here to help you and begin those discussions with you, whether you would want to consider Business Central or Acumatica. Those are our two cloud solution offerings at ICS. Be happy to have those conversations with you. I did also want to point out too, like, common misconception is that Business Central is just a simple move from GP to BC. Those are two different ERP softwares. So this is not a migration, it is a new implementation. So it's a perfect opportunity to take a look at, whether it's us, it's Acumatica or Business Central, to really kind of evaluate what you're looking for in an ERP. So that's where I wanted to start today. But again, GP is being supported now and into the future. Like I said, for 5 years, we're going to see product enhancements and new features released within the product. The ISV community is still really strong. We had 2 of our consultants go down to the community summit in San Antonio this past month, and we're able to attend that. And as I mentioned, ISV community is still really strong. We have a dedicated team here that's still supporting GP, so we'll be here for you now and in the future. But this slide here, take a minute if you want, because like I said, a lot of the features that you see today and what they're going to be including in the future are voted on feature requests. So these are coming from existing customers that have requested these features, and the vote counts is something that they take a look at to include these new features, and that QR code will take you to the Microsoft website, where you can either take a look at what other suggestions people are making, or maybe start your own suggestion. Okay, so we're going to take a look at all the new feature updates that were included in this 18.7 release today. Not really any particular order, but they did kind of take a look at each kind of functional area of GP and hopefully included something for you today that will make your life easier. Some of these are fixes, some of these are new features, but we'll take a look at each of those and kind of explain them in depth of what that feature is and how you can make use of it. So the first one we have here is the vendor class roll down change, and that the default message is now set to no. So this is a big thing on creating a new vendor or adjusting the class of an existing vendor. If you've ever been familiar with that, you do get a pop-up, but the default was always set to yes. And if you do say yes, you could then accidentally roll down changes from that vendor class to your vendor record. So now the message here, you can see, highlights the box in no. So the default is no if you want to update that vendor information with that class. So kind of just a nice feature so that you don't mistakenly roll down and overwrite any default settings on your vendor cards. Okay, our next one here is we have a Reprint EFT payment register. As you know, in an EFT batch, it creates a kind of like a temporary table. So when you process that EFT payment, you get that register at the time you're producing that payment, which you can immediately print after the posting routine's done. However, once you process another batch, that previous information is lost and you're not able to print that register. So now in 18.7, we do have an option to reprint your EFT payment register for a prior posted batch. So that means you can go to purchasing, reports, click on your posting journals, put in your audit trail or your posting date, and then be able to reprint that EFT payment register. Sorry. Okay, our next one we have, the next two actually are related to masking IDs in the system. The first one here is our Payables 1099 masking. So this came about because the IRS passed a regulation a few years ago that allowed the masking of the ID numbers on the 1099 forms. It's not a requirement, but optional. So if you do want to do that on the Print 1099 window, you'll see that there at the bottom is a partial mask of the tax ID number for that vendor. So what that means is you can see an example of that, what that looks like, that it masks as the beginning part of that tax ID number, whether that's the vendor's tax ID number. So if it's an 11-digit field, the first 5 characters of that is going to be masked with those X's on that window. Okay, on the payroll side, the 1099-R, this is the form that is printed for employees that are receiving a pension. We also have a partial mask of the SSN number, or the Social Security number, on this screen as well. And you can see that on the print 1099-R form, we have that checkbox there and what that looks like highlighted in green on the form, how that gets masked. Okay, here's a feature that's more of a fix in the system. If you've ever had to print a historical age trial balance and maybe intentionally or unintentionally added special characters to a voucher number or a payment number in the system, an issue was that when you went to print that historical age trial balance, that you would get SQL error messages, um, such as unclosed quotation mark after the character string, and it would be a nice kind of cryptic error message that you would receive. With this release, though, it does fix that issue, so you'll now be able to print the historical age trial balance if you have voucher numbers or payment numbers that were posted with special characters. Okay, back to 1099s. This is something I'm actually pretty excited about, these next few features on the 1099s, because of course we're kind of coming up on that year and where we have to start considering these things. So hopefully anybody that's going to 18.7 today, you can take advantage of these features. So this one here, restrict payables 1099 information by calendar year option. So this is a really nice kind of restriction that's been added into this window where you can choose the calendar year and restrict it just to those transactions within that year. Prior versions in this window, you would have all the transactions that exist, and it'd be very hard to kind of scroll through everything and see everything. So this type of restriction in the window is going to give you hopefully better efficiency and an easier view of the information for a specific tax year. The next thing continued is on your 1099 details window. So if you're familiar with this window, this is where you can view by month and year what a vendor's 1099 information is. They added a drill back on this window. So the amounts that you see in the 1099 boxes at the very bottom, you'll see that in green there we have highlighted the amount button. So you would click into that amount, click that amount button, and that's going to take you right back to that prior screen that I just showed. This one here, this edit 1099 transaction information window. So that drill back there will take you back to that window, which is really nice because you'll be able to see the detailed information that makes up that balance that's displayed here. Okay, and then lastly, we have a calendar year. I'm sorry, this is a new report print option that's been added to our edit 1099 transaction window as well. So again, same window that we saw just a second ago. A new report print option has been added here as well. And so hopefully this can assist with reconciling the 1099 information for a vendor. So kind of like an edit list, if you will, of the 1099 transactions for a vendor. So again, it's kind of hard to see in this screenshot here, but this edit 1099 transaction information, again, that's back to this window here. That's that print button at the top. Okay, another cool feature in Payables, we have transaction remit to address display. So if you're familiar with doing any sort of payables entry in the system or voucher entry in the system, you'll know that you can choose a remit to ID, but viewing that remit to ID could be a little bit challenging. So what they've added here is an expansion or zoom button that you can click on. It's that blue arrow that's circled, and you can click that and display the remit to address. And so you see an example of that with that screenshot where I clicked on that arrow and it brought up, and you can actually see who you're remitting this voucher to. So this is important because this is obviously where the check is going to be suggested as paid to. So you can actually view that ahead of actually posting the voucher. Now, I can't make changes to that address in this window. You'd have to go back to the vendor address maintenance and either create a new address or edit this existing one. But this is a nice zoom so that you can quickly view as you process new entries and hopefully eliminate the need to go back and check vendor maintenance to ensure that the right address is selected. But also what this means is that it makes it a lot easier so that when you're looking at history, you can go back and see, what address was used on that payables transaction as the remit to. So also with 18.7, we also have a new button that you can click on and view the full details of that address as well, that remit to address as well. And you can see that in the screenshot here where we went from our payable transaction inquiry by vendor view, drilled into that voucher, and then drilled back into that remit to ID to see the address that that voucher was cut to. And then just a note at the bottom there, you'll see that transactions posted prior to this feature being released is not going to have that data. So if a transaction has a remit to ID, it will populate with the vendor's current address details at that time. But anything posted going forward after your 18.7 upgrade will have that appropriately assigned with whatever address was selected. Okay, let's move over to receivables. On the receivable side, we have new templates on our statements. This is actually nice because more default templates will mean that we can actually email additional templates for statements. So if your company has more than one statement form, we no longer are just stuck with the blank form. Now we have multi-currency blank form, multi-currency statement long form. We have the RM statement long form and the RM statement short form. So that means that with a template with each of these, it means we can use the email functionality out of GP to email these statements to our customers. In prior versions, the only one we could email, as I mentioned, was our blank paper. So this is a nice feature. We'll be able to email other statements as well, other statement templates as well. Okay, our next feature here is being able to display the customer and vendor email address on a detail entry. So I'll try to explain this one the best I can because it's a little bit of interesting the way that this used to work. So back on our sales transaction entry, I'll use that as my example since that's the screenshots here. But what you're able to do is at the customer level, enable email addresses based off of a doc type, and that's nothing new, meaning that you can either set the default to come from the address record and have that email come from there, or you can set the email based off the doc type, meaning I want my quote to be sent to one customer email address, I want my order sent to somebody else, and my invoice is sent to somebody else. So that's that feature, email address based on doc type. The issue was that in prior versions, if you were to go and drill into the email on the transaction itself, it would go back and default to the email address from the vendor or customer record and overwrite that email address based on this doc type setting. Meaning that if you just simply clicked into it, you would lose that email address based on doc type and it would get overwritten with whatever the standard default email address is. So now the feature, again, is more of a fix, is that when you click on that message from the transaction, it will know to pull the email based on the doc type if that setting is turned on. So again, more of a fix than a feature on this one, but a nice fix because you want to make sure that you're sending things to the right people, especially if you're utilizing that feature. Okay, for our payroll folks, we have payroll monthly deduction and benefit maximums. So this newly added monthly maximum functionality kind of mimics all the same maximum rules we already use today in GP. But what you'll see here is that new fields have been added to the payroll benefit and deduction setup, as well as payroll employee deduction and benefit windows. And so you can kind of see each of those areas where we have those maximum benefits and deduction maximum set. And so those, again, kind of mimic the other maximum rules that we already use today in GP. Okay, here's a quick self-explanatory change. On our purchase orders, we have now kind of a fix, because this, I would call this maybe more of a fix than a feature again, because in other windows you can use that blue drop down and get to that delete row. They've now added that back into our purchase order entry so that we can do that here as well. So some of you may have noticed that delete row option was missing from prior versions, and you're right. And so this self-explanatory change is a kind of an easy win, meaning that you get it back. Of course, you could always right-click, delete the row, or use the red X in the top right of the blue row, but kind of keeping it consistent with other windows inside GP, we get that now in our blue arrow dropdown. Okay, another really great feature, I think. This is our link of the sales order processing print options to the SOP document type. So here's a quick kind of self-explanatory feature as well, but basically when you're printing from a sales transaction entry window, GP is going to make sure to select the appropriate checkbox based on the document type you are printing, meaning that if I have a quote pulled up and I hit the print button, the quote's going to be automatically marked for me. Or if I have an order pulled up, the order checkbox is going to be marked for me automatically, so that it kind of saves me an extra click when I go through the print process, that it's going to print in default kind of the standard document for that screen that you're printing from. Now, if you're printing a picking ticket or a packing slip, you might just have to uncheck order and check those two options. But again, hopefully the majority of the time is what we're trying to fix here, is that you're going to have the right document selected when you go through those print prompts in the system. Okay, another great feature for those that are using sales order processing. Sales document drill back capability. I think this is huge. This saves a lot of extra clicks. This is looking back at a sales transaction inquiry zoom where you might have known that like an invoice could come from an order and the order could come from a quote, let's say. Well, before you could click on that arrow next to your document number and you'd be able to see that prior document number. But now you don't just get to see that prior originating document number, but you can click into it and navigate into it. So kind of a quick, easy win here for us to be able to quickly drill down. But if we want here, that inquiry zoom, will take us right back to that originating document. So again, if I started with an invoice and I wanted to drill back to an order, I just click on that originating number. It takes me right back to that order. I don't have to go open up another screen, type in that originating number to go find it. Here now I just have that quick drill back, which is really nice. Okay, this is navigation lists. I don't have a whole lot of customers that are using navigation lists, but if you are, these navigation lists for reports now have the ability to mass email, meaning that I can select multiple reports on this window and be able to print an email or print or email more than one at a time, meaning that I can use a report list, which is a navigation list, select multiple reports and have those all printed or emailed at a single time. In prior versions, I think just the sales order transaction would allow us to do this, but not all the reports. So this feature now does let us do that with others as well. And you can see here where the sample is, I have sales order history marked and sales transaction history marked. If I wanted to reprint both of those at the same time, I can do that now, selecting both. All right, for those that are using credit cards and multi-currency, we have a credit card payment option as using kind of like a check card in Payables. Now, multi-currency information before was not kind of visible when looking back at our bank reconciliation. So now what we have is on the checkbook register inquiry, we can see the proper display of the originating amounts. So you can see on here, we're on this checkbook register inquiry where I have the view drop down, clicked on currency, and I can see the proper originating amount for that transaction. So we're going to see the properly displayed amount in our checkbook register. Okay, last feature to go over today is workflow. This is again kind of a nice, easy win for those that are using workflow. Basically, all our number fields are going to be formatted correctly. So if you're familiar with the workflow emails before, you get a lot of trailing zeros all over the place. So now in this version here, a lot of the workflow types get cleaned up. So if you're using sales transaction approval, purchase order approvals, requisition approvals, or receiving transaction approvals, all those number fields should format correctly for us. And you can see that in this screenshot here where I have an email that's sent through the workflow, and I can see exactly these fields formatted appropriately with the proper amount of decimal places to show. Okay, that's it. We made it through all of our new 18.7 application and system features. That's going to conclude our October 2024 Quick Bite webinar. As always, reach out to support with any questions and start any conversation about an upgrade to the latest version of GP today. I have a QR code here to our website that'll take you to the support page where you can initiate a support request if you're interested in that. Again, thanks for watching and enjoy the rest of your day.